The wreckage of Flight 309 lies in eerie silence, broken and smoldering. Snow whips through the open fuselage, covering the torn seats and scattered belongings. Among the survivors, Daniel groans as he pulls himself free from a tangle of seatbelts. A young woman, Claire, stares in shock at the burning wing, her breath visible in the frigid air. The smell of fuel and charred metal lingers, mixing with the crisp mountain air. Someone coughs violently, struggling to move under a collapsed overhead compartment. Near the cockpit, the shattered windshield exposes the crushed remains of the pilot's chair. Daniel stumbles forward, scanning the wreckage for any sign of life beyond the groaning survivors. A gust of wind howls through the broken fuselage, as if the wilderness itself is whispering their fate. Daniel kneels beside an unconscious passenger, pressing 2 fingers to their neck. They're alive, barely. Claire pulls a tattered airline blanket around herself, shivering violently. An older man, Carter, mutters, "We need fire. Now." The cold creeps into their bones, making every movement slow and painful. One survivor clutches a broken arm, their face pale with pain. Someone rummages through the scattered luggage, desperately searching for anything useful. A distant wolf howl sends a shiver of fear through the group. Daniel glances up at the darkening sky. If we don't act fast, we won't last the night. Snowflakes begin to fall, dusting the wreckage with an eerie sense of finality. Daniel crouches, his fingers numb as he tries to spark a flame. The wind fights against them, threatening to extinguish every ember. Carter watches anxiously, rubbing his hands together for warmth. Come on, Daniel mutters, striking again and again. A single flame catches, flickering weakly before growing into a small fire. Relief washes over the group as they gather around, hands stretching toward the fragile warmth. The firelight casts long shadows against the ruined fuselage, making the wreckage feel even more haunting. Claire exhales, her breath mingling with the smoke. You might actually survive this. But in the distance, something moves beyond the wreckage, something watching. Mia's heartbeat pounds in her ears as she struggles against the wreckage, pinning her legs. Her breath comes in short gasps, the cold making it hard to think. Hold on, I've got you, Daniel says, gripping a piece of the twisted metal. Carter joins him, their combined effort barely shifting the wreckage. Mia clenches her jaw, trying to suppress a scream as pain shoots through her leg. We need something to pry it up, Claire calls out, searching the debris. The others scramble, looking for anything strong enough to lift the metal. Daniel exhales sharply, his hands shaking from the effort. We don't leave anyone behind. A sickening crack echoes as they finally free her, but Mia's scream tells them the damage is already done. Carter shakes his head. It's broken. Badly. Mia clenches her jaw, biting back tears. I can still move. Daniel looks around at the others, his expression unreadable. We need a plan. We can't just sit here. Claire nods. They should check the cockpit, see if there's a distress beacon still intact. A cold gust of wind makes the fire sputter, sending sparks into the night. Carter adjusts his torn coat. We'll need to ration supplies if rescue doesn't come soon. No one finishes the thought, but the implication lingers in the heavy silence. Mia closes her eyes, her face twisted in pain. Just don't leave me behind. Somewhere beyond the trees, a low, guttural growl breaks the quiet, sending a ripple of unease through the group. Daniel shields his eyes from the wind as they reach the front of the wreckage. The cockpit is nearly unrecognizable, crushed upon impact. Claire hesitates before stepping inside, the floor creaking beneath her boots. Snow has begun to fill the shattered interior, covering the flight controls in a thin, icy layer. Daniel brushes off a section of the dashboard, searching for the distress beacon. It has to be here, Claire mutters, her fingers trembling from the cold. A loud groan from the wreckage makes them both freeze, the unstable metal shifting under the weight of accumulating snow. Daniel reaches under a collapsed panel, feeling the sharp edge of something metallic. I think I found it. The beacon is intact, but Claire's expression darkens as she flips it over. Its antenna is snapped in half. Mia winces as Carter tightens the makeshift splint around her swollen leg. The fire crackles, casting flickering shadows against the wreckage. A younger survivor, Alex, rubs his hands together, his fingers numb from the cold. What if no one's coming? He asks, his voice barely above a whisper. Carter sighs, glancing toward the dark horizon. Then we make a plan. The food supply is worryingly low, with only a few salvaged snacks and bottled water remaining. Mia forces a smile. I'll be fine. Just don't let me slow you all down. A loud snap echoes from the trees beyond the wreckage, making everyone stiffen. Lucas grips a jagged piece of metal, eyes locked on the darkness just beyond the firelight. Daniel places the damaged beacon beside the fire, frustration clear in his face. It's broken, but maybe we can fix it, Claire says, her voice determined. Carter examines the snapped antenna, running a hand through his frost-covered hair. Mia forces a smirk. So, anyone here good with electronics? Alex bites his lip. I mean, I took apart a radio once. The group exchanges glances. It's not much, but it's something. Daniel sighs, rubbing his frozen hands together. We don't have another choice. We try. As they work, the fire flickers lower, struggling against the icy wind. Beyond the wreckage, something moves in the darkness. Watching. Waiting. Lucas tightens his grip on the metal shard, scanning the tree line. The others continue working on the beacon, oblivious to his growing unease. A branch cracks somewhere in the distance, and his heart pounds faster. The fire flickers, casting long, shifting shadows that play tricks on his vision. For a moment, he thinks he sees something. Eyes reflecting the firelight. Probably just the wind, he mutters to himself. But he doesn't lower his weapon. A chill that has nothing to do with the cold runs down his spine. His breath is visible in the frozen air, slow and steady as he listens. Then, a sound, low and guttural, echoes from the darkness beyond the wreckage. The fire crackles violently as the wind picks up, sending sparks into the air. Daniel freezes mid-repair, his hands stilling over the beacon. Mia grips Carter's sleeve, her breath coming in quick gasps. Another howl cuts through the night, closer this time. Claire swallows hard. That's not the wind. Lucas steps back toward the group, his makeshift weapon raised. The darkness beyond the wreckage feels heavier now, suffocating in its silence. Alex's voice is barely a whisper. They're here. A second howl answers the first, the sound echoing in the frozen night like a warning. Daniel grips the broken beacon tighter, his breath shallow. Claire's fingers shake as she stirs the fire, trying to keep it alive. Lucas paces around the group, his makeshift weapon clutched in white-knuckled hands. Alex listens intently, his heart pounding in his chest. Mia winces, pain radiating from her broken leg as she watches the others. Carter exhales sharply. If they're out there, they're waiting for something. A gust of wind rushes through the wreckage, making the metal creak ominously. Claire glances at Daniel. Do you think the beacon can still send a signal? Before he can answer, a deep, guttural growl rumbles through the air. Lucas takes a step forward, his grip tightening around his weapon. The glowing eyes blink, unmoving, studying them from the shadows. Daniel moves slowly, placing the beacon behind him protectively. Mia's breathing becomes shallow, fear overtaking the pain in her leg. Carter whispers, "We don't move. We don't provoke it." The fire crackles, the only sound in the suffocating silence. Claire fights the urge to run, knowing movement might trigger an attack. The creature lets out a slow exhale, its breath forming a mist in the frozen air. A second pair of eyes appears beside the first, and then a third. Daniel moves first, grabbing anything flammable and tossing it onto the fire. Flames surge, illuminating the snowy wasteland around them. The creatures hesitate, their glowing eyes flickering as they retreat slightly. Lucas lets out a slow breath, his muscles still coiled like a spring. Alex grips Mia's hand tightly, offering her silent reassurance. "We need to keep this going all night," Carter mutters, glancing at the others. Claire nods, grabbing more debris to keep the fire alive. Daniel looks toward the broken beacon. "If we can fix this, we might not need to last all night." Mia swallows hard. "Then we better hurry." Claire bites her lip as she twists wires together, her fingers shaking from the cold. Daniel carefully adjusts the internal components, hoping the device still has power. Lucas watches over them, shifting his weight anxiously. Alex keeps his eyes locked on the tree line, looking for any sign of movement. Mia grimaces, clutching her broken leg as she tries to stay conscious. Carter kneels beside her, whispering reassurances despite his own fear. A sudden static sound crackles from the beacon, making everyone stop. Daniel's heart pounds. It's doing something. Claire holds her breath as the small screen flickers to life, displaying a weak but active signal. Daniel's hands tremble as he adjusts the frequency. Claire lets out a shaky laugh. "It's working." Lucas grips his weapon, glancing between the beacon and the darkness beyond. Mia exhales a relieved breath, her pain momentarily forgotten. Carter places a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "No, we wait." Alex grins, hope rekindled in his weary eyes. The creatures remain beyond the firelight, but they don't come closer. A single red light blinks on the beacon, signaling an outgoing distress call. Daniel looks up at the sky, whispering, "Please, let someone be listening."